What's the most harmful thing about porn? When people think that's how sex actually is in real life. Are you saying women don't immediately start salivating and masturbating when I randomly pull my penis out in public? I think you're lying, friend. The fact that it's really difficult to tell which people are doing things consensually, which people are tricked or manipulated into performing, reneging on payment, promising more than given, etc., and which people are straight up sex slaves or human trafficked and drugged in order to create the films. Because it's simply illegal in so many places. It's really difficult to figure out which people are being treated properly. Pornhub recently even had an issue of not removing a video of someone who was clearly being involved in underage illegal sex trafficking for a long time. The fucking person themselves emailed Pornhub saying to take it down. It was only when they got a lawyer and threatened legal action that they finally did. Best part. Pornhub verified this channel, so you see this video and see a checkmark saying they're verified and think, oh, it's okay. Must all be legal, when really it wasn't. So you had people unknowingly viewing child rape and sex trafficking. And by the time the video was finally taken down, who knows how many people downloaded the video and have shared it around. Only recently has it come to light that Pornhub is very bad at checking the content posted on their own website. Not necessarily the most harmful, but probably ideas on what positions would be comfortable, pleasurable, or satisfying for those involved. A lot of positions are really done not for the pleasure of those involved, but to provide better shots, no ejaculation pun intended, for the camera. Everyone always says reverse cowgirl is horrible and uncomfortable, but me and the lady both enjoy it, so I think it's pretty subjective. My mom's a child therapist. She has largely worked with sexually abused children. Before porn became easily accessible on the internet, if a child abused another child, it was almost always because they had been abused by someone else. Now she's seeing many victims of child perpetrators who saw porn then acted it out on the victim. That's messed up but makes sense. Kids learn by imitation. Any parent of a young kid who watched Caillou can tell you that watching a spoiled brat for a while creates copycat behavior. Toddlers can do spot-on imitations of their caregivers. A curious child can do damage to more than just himself. To me, it's how actors and actresses are treated on and off set. Drug use is still being encouraged on set, which historically has been used to keep sex workers dependent on their bosses since the 1920s. And I've seen it being used to help workers cope with going through long working hours and constant exhaustion from all the shoots they had to make in order to pay their own bills. First off, that seems manipulative to me. Secondly, it also seems extra shitty to push your porn actors, and I assume the camera crew and editors, through crazy long work hours to the point that they'd actually start taking heroin and cocaine just to get through it all. Another sad and troubling thing about porn is the way porn actors get treated if they ever spoke out about the exploitation or abuse in the porn industry. When Stoya reported that she was being mistreated on set, not just by her ex, but also by other porn actors simply because the directors' CEOs didn't want to support or acknowledge her complaints, there were still quite a few people who doubted her because she continued to do porn after being mistreated, much like how people reacted to Linda Lovelace when she spoke about her negative experiences during the 70s. It's bizarre because that logic doesn't even fly in other industry. For instance, if I walk out of my retail job because my abusive ex is there and no one in HR's doing anything to stop it, and they repeatedly keep scheduling me to work alongside my ex, then I should be allowed to speak out and be taken seriously even if I choose to work for another retail store. It honestly makes me feel bad for other porn stars in the same situation. Especially since we keep seeing this issue come up repeatedly for more than 40 years now. Some studios might be making steps right now to make work safer and more enjoyable for their actors. But it's disheartening to see that we still have a long way to go. There was a post on our Ask Women about this. A woman who found herself single in her 40s talked about the differences between sex with men from her own generation and younger men. Younger men wanted to immediately go into things that were previously considered kinky, with no prior discussion. Anal play, choking, dirty talk, and even bondage. Older men were much more vanilla at first and gradually communicated their desires to try more adventurous things. Many of the younger men were getting their sexual expectations from porn. The problem with porn is that they never show the amount communication that's required for sex. Talk of consent, boundaries, expectations, safe words, etc. This gives younger, less experienced audiences the idea that communication isn't needed. Premature exposure to violent porn. I was on an R2X chromosomes and this post comes up asking how you can identify a woman who would be into anal rape fantasies in the wild. I.e. she wears red flips-flops and eats ice cream. She wears white pants and red nail polish, etc. Closing parenthesis. All of us responded with, engaging in proper conversation with them and asking about it when it's appropriate. He was really confused. He actually couldn't comprehend that you're supposed to build that kind of relationship up and that he should talk to her as an equal participant. Out of curiosity, I went and looked at this kid's post history. He was 13, and he posted that same question on over 7 different subreddits. In one subreddit, he admitted that he's been watching violent porn since he was 7. And now the only thing that gets him off is violent anal rape type porn. It was really heartbreaking because he was clearly asking for broader help on something that he was dealing with in private. And the only people who were really engaging with him were the incel type subreddits telling him to just go for it. So yay, I guess that. I'll give you a top 10. The normalization, especially for boys, that everybody watches porn. And that you are supposed to. In most countries, it is illegal to watch porn if you're under 18. But there is a lot of peer pressure to do so. 9. Big misunderstanding of what sex is actually supposed to be like. At best, this can lead to unenjoyable sex. It can also lead to an emotional disconnection and an unhealthy outlook on sex. But at worst, it can lead to some seriously dangerous sexual practices which can cause physical, emotional, and psychological damage. 8. A lot of mainstream porn is degrading to women, and reduces them to sexual objects. 7. Porn addiction. It can give people the inability to get aroused unless they are watching specific porn. The addiction can get in the way of their relationships, family, career, and life in general. 6. Using consensually given naked photos, videos of people to blackmail them by threatening to post them online. 5. Voyeurism and filming, photographing people without their consent. 4. Exploiting and taking advantage of women who are destitute and poor and/or addicted to drugs by getting them to do porn. 3. Bestiality. It is extremely abusive to use animals for sex. 2. Child porn. 1. Actual rapes and murders being filmed and distributed for profit. People seek out the videos when they know the videos exist. The hyperinflation of sexual expectations in teenagers has increased. 13-year-olds are getting coerced for nudes. 17-year-olds have ed. Those clownish over-the-top facial expressions in Pornhub banner ads are going to shape young minds. You're so right. Kids that young get coerced for nudes because we think that's what being mature is. Especially if it's for someone older. I shudder at the thought of teenagers watching some of the stuff that's online these days. Stuff that just wasn't around when I were a lad. Particularly where the guys are really rough with the woman. Hitting and strangling. I hate that shit. I can't think that's a healthy thing for a growing mind to be seeing. Don't worry. Some of us are degenerate weebs and prefer sweet stories rather than someone just being abused. It can desensitize you, so you go on to harder and harder material, no pun intended, just to get that release. It activates the same dopaminergic pathways in the brain as heroin if I'm not mistaken. Also, women don't want to have a guy go at it like a jackhammer as it gets painful. There are also psychological issues which affect both genders. In terms of body image, not all men have 8-inch dongs, or built like tanks. As for women, they don't have designer vaginas, or big boobs. People will look at their own bodies and get depressed because they don't look like what they see on the videos. It can become addictive, to the point you develop a problem. It also causes psychological damage to those who actually do porn. Most of them do not live lavish lifestyles. To add to this, the women who get seen outside are often propositioned for sex, purely because of their job. People seem to think they are always horny and ready to go. That isn't the case at all. It's a job. Once they leave the set, that's it. It ends. They don't want to have more sex with their partners. All of the videos are heavily edited, with camera angles to put the performers in the best light possible. Also lighting as well, not to mention makeup. Lots and lots of makeup. It's the same in the magazines. The houses you see in porn are sets, or rented places just for the scene. Porn warps your reality and worldviews. So ordinary people will always pale in comparison to the perfect goddesses that strut their stuff on your phone's screen. Body image. It was a huge issue in my school growing up, especially when we got into high school. Boys would sit downloading it and watching it in class. I first saw it before I reached puberty. This made it really hard to accept my body. Without going into details, I was constantly think of ways I could change and the ways I was developing, to the point I actually started saving for plastic surgery in secret. I'm 18 now, and last year I rediscovered the money in a box when tidying. I have over 100 pounds in there, and it's scary to think just how much I wanted my developing body to change, all because of these unrealistic standards. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.